Last week, I put out a video about a band that few people in my audience had ever heard of. Microtonal guitars, math rock time signatures, two people in theatrical costumes playing music from outer space. Angine de Poitrine. And it's got over 100,000 views, so I think we need to go deeper. If you've already seen my main analysis video, welcome back. Genuinely, the comments have been extraordinary. Angine de Poitrine, who are Kun the guitarist and Klek the drummer, are taking the world by storm. And your response to my analysis video about them has blown me away. David Martin 7931 has already said, "My soul has already understood, now my brain understands a little more." And Matt Nolan Custom pointed out something I hadn't even caught, a single bar of 3/8 that the drummer Klek drops in to deliberately offset the loops. I mean, come on, these two are operating on a different level. But here's the thing. In the main analysis video, I was explaining how they do it. The gear, the sync, the maths. Tonight, we're going to hear it. One complete song, layer by layer. We're going to break down technically exactly what's going on in this song. From the first loop being recorded all the way to the moment it all locks in and the whole thing becomes whatever this is. Now, what we're going to talk about. So the plan is we're going to do a complete analysis of Fabian, which is song number 3 of their amazing performance. We're going to track every loop, every rhythmic pivot, every moment which needs explanation. I want you to be able to close your eyes at the end of this and hear everything that's happening. At least that's the goal. Along the way, we'll discuss some of the talking points raised in the comments, things like the click track or the Klek track, things like how loopers think about arrangement. Then we'll have an opportunity to have a Q&A, an opportunity to get into a discussion about the song, ADP, and music more generally. I've pulled questions directly from the comments on the main video. There are some really good ones in there, and we'll take live questions from the chat as well. And if you're watching this back, hello, timestamps for every section are in the description, and you can jump to the Q&A whenever you want. But honestly, stay for the breakdown. You'll hear this music differently afterwards, I promise. Right, let's get into it. So before we get into the actual music, and to help the chat get warmed up, I'm going to ask you a question. How did you discover Angine de Poitrine? Pop your answer in the chat, and we'll come back and have a look at those later. For me, it was word of mouth. My mate Nick was picking up my daughter for a birthday party, and he told me about the band. His first experience with them, he thought a bit yuck, was his exact words, but then he just couldn't help coming back and back again to listen to it. For me, this is mad. When was the last time that you or I heard about a band word of mouth? I think for me it was when I was at school. There's something unique and awesome going on, and people are into it. Anyway, we'll come back to your own personal stories of Angine de Poitrine shortly. Let's get into the first bit of Fabian. Okay, that is a great opening to a song, but it leads me to a question. Where the hell is the beat? This is a really tricky challenge with this song because the guitar part is so syncopated and moves around the notes so freely. I find it really hard to work out where the beat is. And what I mean by this is, where does the loop start and stop? This live stream is going to be a pretty rubbish deep dive if I can't show you that. So here you go, let me show you. I've extracted the audio out of the video and you can see the waveform here. And below this you can see my interpretation of the time signatures. We've got one bar of 11/8 and then 2 bars of 7/8 and then a final bar of 3/8. I'm going to play the audio again and this time I'm going to clap along. Listen to this. Ready? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's enough of that. that is my interpretation of the time signatures. I can see there's a lot of great chat going on over there. Let's have a little look. Your favourite song of the set, Blue Chambray Live, fantastic. It is also my favourite song of the set. I think it's fair to say Fabian is an absolutely awesome tune, isn't it? Leah Bell says microtonal music isn't new, but this is the first time I've heard it swing as well as this does, and that's new. I like that. KEXP performance, correct. That is. I think I said KEXM in my video earlier. Andy Edwards was where I first saw this a few weeks ago. Interesting. Radio in the car. A lot of YouTubers have been asked to analyse them, like Rick Beato. He did a good bit of analysis on them, and it made them popular. Very good. No, awesome. So we've gone through this time signature. So this is the first key thing to talk about. So it's great to hear all your stories about Angine de Poitrine. So get back to this. The phrase is complex, and it moves between a number of time signatures across the whole loop. Did that make sense? Basically, when you're trying to work out time signatures, the key thing to do is to work out where the accents are, where the phrases are. Think about it like the phrasing of the music. And this is all that composers are trying to do with time signature changes. They're trying to change the time or the meter of the music to express musical ideas and phrases. Now, I've had loads of comments in the chat of my video discussing various folk music styles from across the globe that lean into complex signatures. So I think the fact in the West, like UK or US, we're hardwired to 4/4 music. It's just through years of programming. Listening to 4/4 music over and over again, like the kind of classic pop tracks we hear. But stuff like this has been around as long as humans have been making music. Okay, now interestingly, there is something else I want to talk to you about this loop. There's something that's actually pretty crazy about this particular loop of music. And do you know what that crazy thing is? Where is it? That crazy thing is the loop is not in line with the time signature. Let that sink in. That's pretty mad, right? And what do I even mean? Check this out. If the complete musical phrase was in line with this loop, the looper would start at the beginning of the red section and it would end at the end of the grey section. So this is the waveform from the music. Now if you look at that audio waveform, you can actually see there's a faint black line at the start of the red section. So there's basically, you can see here that there are actually, there's 28 eighth notes in this complete phrase, and this is the audio waveform of it. So that would normally be what you loop. But that little faint red line at the start of that is the crazy thing that these crazy dudes in ADP are doing. They actually start the looper at that faint black line. So it looks like this. So what they're doing, the 11/8 bar that we had on the previous slide has been split in two. One bar of 3/8 at the end of the loop, and one bar of 8/8 at the start of the loop. How the hell do I know this? How the hell do you go about working out stuff like this? Actually, there are some really helpful clues in the performance. Later, you'll hear me talk about how Kun starts and stops the looper at a certain point. Kun's the guitarist, by the way. I probably said that name wrong. When you start a loop on the looper, or stop a looper and then restart again, the looper goes back to the beginning of the loop. So when you press play, you're playing the loop from the start. So what I've done is I've gone through the video and I've validated this by listening to the phrase from when he restarts it. And that basically is where the loop lines up with it, that portion of that sort of 3/8 in from the 11/8 bar. So now we've got our ears aligned to the initial guitar loop. And to be honest with you, we're actually only about halfway through the really technical time signature stuff, and there's a little bit more to come. But let's actually watch the next bit of the video. Let's pull that up. Okay. There are a couple of really interesting things to look about here. Notice how the musicians communicate. If you watch the video is a bit paused here at the moment. There's no words, but there's some really interesting hand gestures from the drummer. They know exactly what they're doing. Let's go. So here it's quite interesting. I would say that the drums and bass are very much aligned to the initial guitar part that Kun looped at the start of the song. So they're basically rhythmically following the same pattern. And actually the bit we've just watched there, Kun actually uses this opportunity, the guitarist, to capture the bass part as a loop. Now let's get into a bit of looping here. Crucially, it's really important that he captures that bass loop he's just done on a separate track from the initial guitar loop. Now the looper pedal that Kun uses is the Boss RC600. This can record up to 6 tracks independently, although it does take a little bit of fiddling in the settings. My view is I think they're actually only using 3 tracks here. But anyway, it's important that you can separate the loops, because later he wants to play the guitar loop, that initial guitar loop again without the bass part. But obviously he needs to have that bass loop locked down with the drums so he can layer more guitar on top. Now let's just pause that and let's listen to this where he captures a second guitar loop. So here he is capturing the bass loop. Now he's going to capture another guitar loop here. Now check this out. Nearly. This bit now. Okay, stop that. Now, he is capturing there a second guitar loop. Now what this is doing, this part is actually accenting different beats. In the analysis video I did earlier, I described that as a pivot in the main analysis video. But here you've got the drums and the bass loop he recorded already. They're still in that first pattern, that kind of moving around pattern, so it hasn't shifted our minds yet. That bit is coming. So he's now got that third loop, guitar number 2, he's captured that, and the loops are coming together. He has 3 separate loops that can all be started or stopped. 2 of them are aligned in terms of time, and that third loop he's just recorded is in a time of its own. I think it's time to dig into the time signature of that new guitar part. On the surface, actually, this guitar part is actually much simpler. If you look at this here, it's actually 4 patterns of 7/8. So basically that that kind of is actually a 7/8 pattern. And if you play that 4 times, you get 7 multiplied by 4 is 28. Which obviously aligns with the length of the loop I showed you on the previous slide. And basically, I'm about to show you how that kind of riff works in 7/8 with a little clap, but there is actually a surprise about this loop, which I'd like to ask you to see if you can guess what that surprise is by going into the chat and let me know what you think that is, because it is a surprise, and if you know what's coming for this, let me know in the chat. There are a lot of things going fantastic things going on in the chat. The collect track, yeah, that was a really great comment from the video. So Alex Dugball said, anyway, let's keep some mystery. I think I'm not very much helping with the mystery, am I? I'm giving you all the secrets of the time signatures. Okay, yeah. So anyway, so I'm going to reveal to you what the surprise is. So this is the pattern. So I'll just quickly cap it to you. It sounds like this, which is basically which is seven beats basically, which is a slightly crap way of showing it to you. But this is the mental and surprising thing that they actually do. The loop is not in line with the time signature. They've done it again. So basically earlier I showed you a loop that was 11/8, 7/8, 7/8, 3/8, and they then misaligned that with the loop. They've done it again with the loop here. Look what they've done. Basically, this kind of little portion of the kind of view shows the 4 loops and how they fit into the overall looping structure. So the whole thing is the length of the 28 bars of the loop. They actually don't start this until after a little cheeky 2/8 bar. It's absolutely crazy. So there's still a 7/8 loop, but they don't actually line it up with the looper. So what this basically means is the loop is not aligned with the time signature. Again, the same trick they've used. And it's split. So basically the last 2/8 notes of that black looking kind of wave start at the beginning, and then you have the 7/8, 7/8, 7/8. So this is pretty crazy. And you know what's even crazier? That 7/8 guitar riff that I've just shown you is playing at the same time as the guitar phrase. So basically, they both look, and this is mad, they both look like this. So let's take a quick pause for a second. This, just to kind of give you a heads up of what this is showing us, for those of you that just joined in, the top bit is the initial loop from the kind of light guitar bit that starts the song. And the second bit is that kind of guitar line that's going diddle-diddle-doo, diddle-diddle-doo. And can you see that he's based Kun and KEXP and ADP as a band have aligned these kind of phrases not where they actually start. So you've got two completely misaligned phrases, but yet it all fits together really, really well. So that's kind of the time signatures they're doing, and that's how they fit it all together. And I think it's fair to say that this is actually pretty genius, isn't it? There's some chat going on about all the tickets that are sold out, which is absolutely rubbish, isn't it? I think not rubbish. I mean, it's great for the band, isn't it? But I don't think anyone can get tickets anywhere. So this is the best place to be. So tell all your friends if you want to come and geek out and dive into ADP. We're the place to do it. But while we're on this, actually, I'd quite like to make a quick correction from my previous original video. In the original video, I talked about time signatures changing, and one of my viewers and one of the commenters corrected my terminology. He said that the word I should have used to talk about different time signatures was modulation, and he was correct. The actual term is metric modulation, and this is where the overall time stays the same. So as you can see on the screen here, the 28 eighth notes, that time is the same, but the underlying subdivision changes. So to be honest, I sometimes get the words and definitions about music wrong sometimes. You know, I basically, you know, the music theory have words and descriptions of things. That's something I've always struggled with a little bit with. But I think the important thing about music is the understanding. I'm pretty obsessed with music. I have an intrinsic understanding inside my brain, and my brain has a certain way of thinking about it. Your brain may have a different way of thinking about it. People call things different things, and this is okay. I think it's totally true, though, that there is a value in a common language that means people can communicate musical ideas together. Because obviously, if we all use different words, it would sometimes make it quite difficult, wouldn't it, to have, you know, communicate the ideas you wanted to have. So anyway, I'm always really happy to be corrected. So thanks for pulling that out. But let's kind of move away from the crazy time signatures. We've done most of the hard work now, and we're about to enter phase 3 of Fabian. This is the moment when the drums and bass change significantly, throwing the timing and vibe of the song into a completely new dynamic. I'm going to play that transition, but there is something incredible going on just before the transition, and see if you can spot it. Just going to get that bit up. Let's get that up. Here we go. Okay, did you hear that? Okay, let's go. So, you might have noticed that. What the hell is going on there? Kun and KEXP play a new part really quickly that hasn't been played before. Then they pivot into a new bit of loops. So, what the hell is going on there? In simple terms, at the end of that complete 28 beat loop that they've already played, Kun stops the looper completely. Then KEXP and Kun play 5 eighth notes of stuff, and then Kun starts the looper again. So basically what they're doing is they stop the looper, throw a cheeky 5/8 bar in where they just play some notes, trying to fox you, and then they start the looper again. But because they've now shifted and pivoted into a new style of music, a new kind of a meter and a new way of playing, it all feels mad and magical. Shall we have another listen? Let's go back to that. Oops. Wrong page. Let's go back a little bit. Listen. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully you noticed it that time. If you watch that back and try and clap 5/8 notes, you'll see that's what's happening. the timing that Kun needs to have to hit the looper pedal is absolutely incredible. So they've obviously practiced this a lot. Anyway, now, straight after that transition, we move into what I'm calling phase 3. The groove is a bit different. You can hear the rhythms and you can hear those being played at the same time as the original light guitar is being played. So basically they've got the guitar and the bass are now playing a set of rhythms that are much more like the second guitar part, but the light guitar is over the top still going on. So it's a really interesting moment. And let's just actually quickly pull up again the subdivisions. I want to show you again the subdivisions. So basically in this phase 3 bit that we're about to play you again, I'll play you again, you can hear the light guitar going doo 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 doo. And then the drums, bass, and that kind of second guitar part are all playing the kind of subdivisions on the bottom in the 7/8 time. So it's really interesting to see how the parts line up in the wider sort of 28 beats. But if you listen, you can hear that the feel and the groove and the mood has completely changed. The new groove has accents in different places, and the drums and bass basically follow that guitar line. Let's just play a little bit of that again, and then we're going to watch another transition that the band come and do for us for our listening pleasure. So listen to this. Kind of in 7/8. Ready? Okay, so what they do then is they're then transitioning back. They're transitioning back to the original meter. So what then the drums and the bass are doing, they're then shifting back to supporting the patterns that are being played by that original kind of guitar part. So these pivots between the timings are really powerful, and they create emotional tension and resolution. They allow the music to explore the timings we've established, but they remind us that there are other ways of thinking about this meter. It's kind of a bit like seasons. Now, we're going to exit this section, and what you'll do as I'll play it, you'll notice there's another 5/8 bar, which is just a drum fill, but this leads us back into the phase 3 rhythm, the kind of the more kind of 7/8 rhythms. Let's just hear that quickly now. Listen up for the 5/8 bar with just the drums on it. This is a 5/8 bar. Ready? Back into that kind of 7/8 groove. So we're back into that kind of new sort of the kind of 7/8 groove that we had. Now, before we go any further and I play any more of the song, let me talk to you a little bit about arranging songs as a looper and how loopers think about arrangement. For many beginner loopers, you loop like this. You layer one loop and then you add another loop, and then you keep adding loops on guitars, kind of hitting your guitar, singing along or whatever. You keep adding until you have a complete backing track. And then basically you sing along and play along to the whole song to that. The looper that you've captured plays for the whole song. And you know what? People get pretty bored of this. The level or volume of the song, if you play a loop like that, is the same all the way through. In music, we call the difference between loud and quiet dynamics. So if you loop like I just described, this is not giving you the full dynamic range of a looper pedal. And in a looper like the Boss RC600, you actually have a lot of different ways that you can play it. So there's basically, you can have one loop playing, you can have two loops playing, you can have three loops playing, but crucially you can also have no loops playing. And this is quite important to think about as a looper. You want to control the dynamics. You want light and shade. So sometimes it's quite important that you actually stop the looper playing and don't have any sort of loops playing while you're kind of singing or playing along. So that's really, really important. So if you're thinking about arranging your own loop song, think about how you use the loops you've captured and when you start and stop them, and actually sometimes don't be afraid to not have any loops in at all. And actually, as you'll see here in the example we just looked at, taking all the loops away before bringing them all back in is a bit of a dynamic shift that makes a big impact. We're going to play it again now, but listen to the impact of stopping the loops and then bringing them back in. So this is where the drummer does that little 5/8 little section. Listen to the dynamic change that happens when he does this. Probably got back a bit far. Okay, I went back, I didn't get far enough. Oops. Pause, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. Where is it? Oops. There it is. Okay. So I kind of screwed that up. But yeah, listen to the difference basically that happens when you actually have the drums. So all the loops drop out and the drums play, and then all the loops come back in. It's absolutely incredible. It's pretty awesome. So, and actually the bit after, straight after that drum kind of bit where the drums have, straight after that kind of 5/8 bit with the drums, Kun actually captures the bass part in that bit. So he records another loop to the bass part. And it's very similar to the guitar part that he had, but it's actually just in line with it. And then he keeps going. Let's just play a bit more. Oops. And you can see here, after this, he'll now capture the guitar part. Okay, so what's happening here is, in terms of the loops, loop number 1, so I think he's got 3 loops on the RC600 probably. Loop 1 is that very initial guitar part. Loop 2 is then the bass bit that kind of lines up with that kind of fits with that part. And then I think in loop 3 he layers quite a lot of things. He layers the bass part that we just recorded, he layers that guitar part, and so he's got all of the sounds that are the kind of all of that is captured in loop 3. Anyway, so once he captured that guitar part, they play a full loop, the energy builds, and then basically they are rolling back into phase 4. And we're just going to watch the transition, but watch in the transition into phase 4, Kun presses a pedal which brings a distorted sound, which is really effective. So let's just have a little look at that. Let's watch that now. Okay, so that is a really effective transition from phase 3 to phase 4. So basically it makes you feel like something is coming, something epic is happening. Basically the drums and the guitar sort of rising up in energy, and then basically that kind of interesting distortion sound. And he also, I think, does a bit of singing ooh, as it goes along. I think the pedal that he's using, looking at their kind of gear list, is the Warm Audio Ringer Bringer. I think it allows you to program in a particular sound and plays it like a sample, but please obviously let me know in the chat if it's not that pedal. And then obviously you've got that lovely crescendo, and it brings us into phase 4, which I call disco. Should we have a little look, little listen to this disco section right now? Let's go. So it's the same length loop, 14 measures or 28/8 notes. Okay, so here, the loops that he's using are the 2 loops that were used already. So remember he captured the on the bass and 2 guitars. So they're the loops that are happening. Kun, the guitarist, plays this beautiful, beautiful, lovely guitar line over the top. And that guitar line is actually played completely live. He plays that line a bit through the song later and now as well, but he never captures it as a loop. He always uses the opportunity to play that himself. And underneath all of this, Klek, the drummer, gives us a tight disco 4 to the floor beat. Well, I say 4 to the floor. In reality, it's actually, he's got 1 bar, there it is. In reality, it is a bit of 4 to the floor, but because he's got to fit into 14 kind of quarter notes, he has to do a 4/4, 4/4, and a 4/4. So 3 bars of 4/4, then a bar of 2/4, and then 3 more bars of 4/4, and then a bar of 2/4. So it's kind of 4 to the floor as a disco with a couple of little bit of 2 to the floor. And then after a couple of rounds of the guitar line, Kun then moves to this kind of muddy, beautiful riff, which lines up with the bass and the kind of earlier riffs we had. So I'm just going to play that as well now. Let's hear that. Beautiful kind of grungy sort of rocking sound. Ready? Nearly. Ready? What the hell is that guitar sound? Okay, so they've kind of moved back into the sort of 7/8 time that we had earlier. And obviously Kleck, the drummer, lines up with that, and he plays that kind of 7/8 beat, but with a bit more rock vibes. He's sort of playing open hi-hats and with the driving energy. And then basically from this point on, we have that muddy section, then we go back into the disco section, then we come back into that muddy, dirty groove section, and then we get to the most important transition in the whole piece. Now, at this point, it's worth saying that we're going to transition into the kind of final part of the song with the kind of alien singing. And actually at this point, all of the loops that Kun has recorded up until this point won't be needed anymore. So what he actually does as part of this transition, we'll watch it now, is he will be clearing the loop and start again. But let's just quickly watch the transition to sort of see if we can get there. Let's just go a bit further on. Where are we? Nearly, a bit further. This is it. Listen to this transition. Okay, so from this point on, all the loops he's recorded already are no longer needed. So basically what I think he's doing is he is clearing the looper, and he does that either as he pulls that kind of guitar chord, or he does that in the next section. And ultimately it's pretty clever. He'll record all the new loops coming, so basically clearing it out really helps. I think the reason why he'd want to clear those loops out, so in his Boss RC600, he's got all these loops that he's recorded for the first part of the song. It's quite a good logic as to why he would want to clear them and start with new loops, because the more loops you have in your pedal, kind of it can be quite hard sometimes to remember exactly where you are, and actually, because he doesn't need them anymore, it would make perfect sense. So as you watched, as for that really important transition, this moment between phase 4 and phase 5, Kun holds this beautiful guitar chord, which is like a guitar harmonics chord. The looper is stopped, and then obviously together they both come in with this kind of kick on the floor and bass line. Now this I've called this phase 5, beautiful noise. And the question I have for phase 5 actually at the start is, how do they come in together? They're such a tight band, aren't they? But how do they come in together so well? Should we watch it again quickly? And I want you to notice how tight they are, how amazingly tight they are. Let's just quickly go back a little bit to maybe there. Watch them come back in. Watch them come back in really tight. Okay, there's some really cool things to look at here. If you watch the drummer, he is, right hand is up, he's ready to play. He is watching the guitarist like a hawk. And when the guitarist stomps on the expression pedal, they come in together. It's really important to say that visual cues are almost as important as audio cues in live music. If you ever watch an orchestra, they are often watching each other almost as much as they're watching the conductor. Now it's probably quite a good time to address the elephant in the room. Are they using a metronome? In my analysis video, I stated confidently that they were using a metronome, and I explained how it was linked to the looper pedal. I explained that there's basically the Boss RC600 is the looper pedal, and you can have a MIDI cable from there into this another pedal called the Boss DB90, which is the metronome, a drummer's metronome, and that would then allow the drummer to hear a click and stay perfectly in time. I've kind of had two sort of comments about this part. People are either in camp A, they say things like, thank you for explaining how it works, I knew they had to be using a click, or you're in camp B, they aren't using a click. The previous iteration of this band didn't use a click, they don't need it. Let's explore quickly. Firstly, there is nothing wrong with using a metronome or a click in live music. And I think it seems for some people, they think I'm sort of trying to take something away from ADP to suggest that they need a crutch, that they need a metronome. For me, the use of a click is so widespread in music everywhere nowadays, and it certainly wasn't me being disrespectful or trying to show that they're using a crutch in any way. I still think they use a click, and I think there are a couple of pieces of evidence. Firstly, the start of their second song in the KEXP performance is impossible, in my opinion, to play without a click. The second piece of evidence is their gear page itself online lists the Boss DB90 as something that they use. And actually you can see in some of their Instagram posts, and I was actually having an email with one of the viewers of the previous video, and we found an Instagram picture that shows the Boss DB90 as something that is on their gear rig. And finally, the evidence from this exact moment in the video. Let's get into it again. We're going to watch it again. Watch very carefully. The drummer is watching the guitarist like a hawk, but the guitarist is looking down. He's not watching the drummer. If you want to hit a note perfectly in time with each other, two musicians, you both need to be looking at each other. So I think the guitarist and the drummer have a click in their ears. The drummer knows that the guitarist will start on a particular beat. The guitarist knows that the drummer will come in with him. They focus on a specific beat of the bar. Now, when you have a metronome or a click, you'll have one note, one sort of click that's louder than the others. It will sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that is the first beat of the bar. So there's a slight emphasis on the first beat of the bar. Now, of course, they won't be doing 4 beats in this one. It will be 7 or 14. But what that means is they can target one of those really strong beats and they come in together. Let's watch that again quickly and just see that in action. Watch them come in together. The guitarist is looking down, he's not interested in what the drummer's doing, but the drummer is watching like a hawk the guitarist. Check it out. Okay, now that is hopefully cleared up for you. What do you think? What camp are you in? Do you think they use a click, or do you think they don't? Let me know in the comments and I'll read them in a second to see what people are thinking. Let's get back into the looping though, but there's something else to notice at the start of this new phrase. You might have noticed it, but Kun, in that kind of little clip, doesn't press the looper pedal when he and the drummer starts. The only pedal he presses is that expression pedal. So this means that the first particular number of beats are not being looped. So that means basically that Kun and Kleck are just grooving together, probably in time with their click. This is really clever. Again, it disguises where the start of the loop is. What he does is he presses the looper pedal when the camera moves off and focuses on the drummer. There's also a nice little moment I want to just share with you as well. This bit I think is my favourite bit, maybe of the whole set. Watch the drummer now with his little dance. Having a lovely old time here. That drummer is crazy, man. So little dance coming up. There we go. That's it, baby. Dance it out, baby. I don't know why I like that so much. It just makes me happy. Anyway, that is crazy. Little dance with the drummer. And then we're about to now enter the most interesting vocal bit. Alien singing and waving arms. Let's just watch it now. Okay, so I love that. Music is about dynamics. It's beautiful. It's Alien singing and waving arms and they're looking at each other. It's a real bit of joy. As I said, music is about dynamics. It's about light and shade, loud and quiet. And I think this section highlights something amazing about Angine de Poitrine. They don't just want to give you crazy time signature music. They want to give you that kind of dynamic control. They want to express themselves in lots of different ways. And there isn't any other moment in their live show like this. It's absolutely lovely. Anyway, we've kind of got through the hard bit of this set now, this song. And from this moment on, they start to establish a groove, an ADP and an Angine de Poitrine play together. Let's just see how that comes in a second. I'm just going to get the music back up. I want you to just hear that incredible transition when they move in. Let's go. Oops. Oh dear. Pause. I've managed to go into double time. Let's not do that. Okay, I missed it. Okay, let's go back a bit. Where is that a little beat? Okay, just listen how the cymbal crash and the guitar coming together. I love this bit. Not double. Don't play ADP double time. Ready? One more. This is so mad, this bit, isn't it? Ready? One more. And listen to this really simple comeback in. Ready? Absolutely love that. Okay, anyway, so that is now kind of basically, once we got into that kind of grooving bit there, this is really it for the rest of the song. They just loop and layer. The guitarist layers bass and then starts laying guitar on top of each other. The drums start growing and energetic and building. It becomes a really lovely, beautiful, beautiful, groovy song. You kind of feel like you can relax. Your brain isn't trying to work out complex notes or rhythms, and you can kind of sit back and enjoy what is for ADP a slightly simpler type of music. And it just feels so groovy. A few people commented on my analysis video specifically about the groove that ADP are able to get. It's so infectious. If you've ever watched kind of math rock bands, it often focuses on the rhythms or the exceptional techniques of the people in the band, and actually those bands don't have much groove. ADP have got such an amount of groove in that, and it's absolutely brilliant to see. So anyway, this is an absolutely amazing way to end the song, and that's kind of it really. It's taken me 40 minutes to discuss a piece of music which only lasts 7 minutes. And I think I've only actually done 5 minutes of the music. So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. Do let me know if you disagree with anything that I've said in the video. It's really, really important for me that, you know, these are all opinions, these are ideas, and actually one of the ways I think we can all enjoy music is by coming together, talking about it, and saying what we like, saying what we don't like. So anyway, we're going to move on now to the second half of this live stream where we're going to have discussion. If you have any questions in the chat, I'm going to start reading some of those now. I've also got some questions prepared and some comments prepared from the video. So if there aren't any specific questions coming from the chat, we can do that. Okay, let's have a look through. There's quite a few chats. How many people got on the stream? Awesome, 200 people. Hello everybody. This is awesome. It's great to have you all on here. Sebastian. Okay, so Crispy was just going to ask what happens when they make a mistake. I think that's a really interesting question. What happens when a band like this makes a mistake? It's really tricky actually being a looper. If you search, I mean, my analysis video finished with a link to another one of my videos which describes Ed Sheeran, and one of the comments I got from quite a lot of people was, why the hell are you going to Ed Sheeran straight after Angine de Poitrine? And I kind of understand and agree with that. But if you search on YouTube, you will find loads and loads and loads of videos where Ed Sheeran has made a mistake. Looping is really, really unforgiving. So I think if they make a mistake, oops, I've gone into my out of focus, that's better. Don't know why that happened. I think I was holding my hands up like this. Looping is really unforgiving. And with a band like Angine de Poitrine, if they make a mistake, they're not in trouble because I think they're good enough musicians, and what I guess they would probably do is they've probably had that experience a lot through their rehearsing, so they would probably groove a bit and kind of like just go with the section they're in. Maybe there's a kind of particular way that they communicate with each other. If they say, I've completely screwed up and I've no idea where I am. So they've probably got some quick exits for these songs. So if that song, for example, started to go wrong, they've probably got a way they can just get into a groove and roll it out. But yeah, it's definitely tricky, Chris. If you make a mistake, it's really, really really difficult. From Oliver Fry's 9386, you say no click. They would get crazy with a click and always change the tact. I think we probably need them to come out and say actually what they actually do with a click. And like I said, you can see in their gear page and you can see on their pedal board that they do have a DB90, that metronome I talked about. So they definitely do use a click at certain points, but I've kind of given you my opinion based upon my knowledge being a looper and a musician, how I think they use it. But obviously they may well start the song with a click and then turn the click off. There may well be some songs they don't use a click. So it is interesting. It's definitely something that I'm really interested to know a bit more. Yeah, so Illabelle1 said, this whole thing with polka dots, pyramids, wavy arms, their own language, etc. is a whole entertainment package. And I think you've really kind of nailed it there, actually. There's loads of people in the chat and in the comments on their video and on my video who are saying things like they're just a flash in the pan, they're just a gimmick, they're trying to do all this stuff. But actually, like, music is entertainment, music is a show. If you go and watch any artist live, they've got lights, they've got like kind of words on the screen, they were wearing costumes, Some artists change their costume 3 or 4 times in a show. My favourite band, Biffy Clyro, he doesn't change his costume. He just slowly takes bits of his clothes off until he's pretty much naked at the end. But again, all of this is part of the visual enjoyment of music. And I think one of the things about these guys, I mean, they've got so much to look at, haven't they? So much visual interest going on in their thing, and I can see why people say it's a gimmick, but for me, it's obviously an incredible package, like you say, that comes together. I really like that. Alex Double. Oh, okay. So one other thing I saw is that the sound engineering team, the geniuses, took out the audio of when Kleck hit the crash cymbal with his shoe. I didn't notice him hitting the crash cymbal with his shoe. What I did notice, if you watch Fabian again, at the end of Fabian, the third song, Kleck actually does his shoelaces up, which is quite an interesting, which is a very, very interesting thing to do. And I think actually, watch the end of Fabian when you get a second, and watch Kleck's trying to do his shoelaces up, and like Kun is just going, whatever, mate. I'm gonna start the song. So his foot is still like up when the next song starts. It's quite funny. Sebastian, can someone explain to me the Sebastian thing? I'm definitely not understanding that one. So can someone help me understand what Sebastian means? Oh, thank you. Oh, Jules out to lunch. Justin Hawkins rides again. Just came out with the reaction, but I clicked on this first out of respect for how great your first review was. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the comments. There's lots of kind comments about it, and I'm just really passionate about understanding music. And when I hear something I don't understand, I kind of have to kind of get my head around it. I think it's why I started looping. I couldn't understand it, and I wanted to. So, okay, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I can confirm that these two artists are 100% professional musicians that are coming from a high level of experimental music. 100% agree. Andy Edwards said it's his favourite band as well. Okay, Michael Greenwood 1393 said, which elements of their music makes the magic? The groove, the timings, or the microtones? For me, it's mainly the timings and the groove. I think I agree with Michael. The microtonal bit of their music isn't really, like, someone in my comment said maybe you can't hear it and you need to have a hearing test actually, and maybe it's true because I don't really notice it. I don't really notice the microtonal thing, and certainly the microtonal bit doesn't really make me go, wow, this is amazing. I mean, it looks pretty incredible on his guitars. For me, I think it is the groove and the timings. I think I really strongly agree with Michael there. I think that's what gets it for me, but I also think the musicianship and the kind of chords and the way they build their songs together is just pretty incredible. I shed a tear when Sherpa turned into a krautrock groover. The groove is magic. Okay, simply the Boarhead says, Boarhead said, the time in the first section is 5 beats. On the second section increased to 10 beats. That's 424. Heavily influenced by King Crimson in Discipline. In Disciple. I'll have another look again at my kind of timings. I mean, what I said it was on that first one is this. I thought it was, oops, sorry, I can't see that. It's my weird screen. I thought it was, no, not this one. The timing, get the full timing up. I thought the phrase, like I said, like earlier, the phrase of that very first guitar bit was 11/8, 7/8, 7/8, 3/8. But I'm having a challenge, so that's absolutely fine. And I'll go and have another listen. You may well be right, but that's what I hear, and I basically chunked it up into basically the different phrases. But it's fair enough. Ah, Sebastian is the name of their manager. Yeah, very good. Good stuff. Okay, I'm missing a few bits here. Jeremiah Boz says they use the looper in quantizing mode. They need the click. They preset the time signature and number of bars to record. Okay, I think I agree with you. I think that makes sense. Quantized mode basically means that you can set how long you want the loop to be. So they've obviously set in that example I showed you earlier. Where is it? 28 notes. You set the loop to be 28 kind of eighth notes. You set that already beforehand. And being quantized mode, what that means is you don't have to press the pedal on the very beginning. You can press it before, and what it will do is it will then start recording and capture the loop. So the loop already knows how long it's going to be. So it's quite a clever way of meaning that you don't, like if you've ever tried to press a loop pedal, on a simple one like this, it's just down to when you press it and when you press it again. So the timing you can get on this is basically only as good as your human kind of inaccuracy, whereas you need it to be as tight and as computerized as these guys. So that's really helpful, yeah. So thanks, Jeremiah Bose. I agree with you completely. Making microtonal and funky time signatures rock and groove, kudos. Kun and Kleck are artists, not exactly garage band. Yeah, exactly. Although I love how they kind of get that vibe of, if ever you've been in a band, you know what I mean? Like there's this kind of like, they're playing together, and almost, I can imagine playing with someone in my garage like that. I mean, I can't play music like that, to be honest, but there's a vibe about it that is a bit garage band. So yeah, Napoleon says, I think it will truly be a revolution when they perform on SNL, Fallon or Grammys. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Okay, great. Napoleon, Oliver, thanks for your time. Thank you. All that's missing now is a psychologist review that explains why none of our wives like this music. Okay, my wife is hopefully watching. Her reaction to it was, why does that drummer have a stupid nose? It's not really her cup of tea, but I really enjoyed her feedback on that. First name, inside joke. Okay. Fabian is a tribute song to their producer and manager, perhaps. Very good, okay. Illabel is interested to know how they evolve, but even if they only made a couple of albums, their status is already legendary. So yeah, maybe a Grammy for Fabian. I will be delighted if they win a Grammy for Fabian. Oh, here we go. Here's a good question. Ellen W. Loves You 1740 says, one musician said that they dubbed in pre-recorded samples. Is that true? Now, I can't like properly like prove that they didn't, but my experience as a musician and having watched this video like about 100 times, I really don't think they did. I think that is a complete live performance. Sometimes what you can do, if you're using a pedal like the RC600, the Boss RC600, you can actually take an output from the pedal and record it into an audio desk. So if you like, you kind of capture the perfect audio as it's played. So what they could probably do is then take that perfect audio and then take the actual kind of the raw sound that came out of the pedal, and they could then augment it and kind of produce it and make it sound better. So they could do some post-production like that. Even if they do that, I am 100% convinced, and I'm happy for you to disagree with me, shout in the comments if you disagree. I'm 100% convinced everything you saw in Fabian was played live in the moment. Even if they went back and augmented the exact sound and maybe separated it and mixed it a little bit, everything was 100% live, in my opinion. Great question. Sebastian interprets their interviews, speak their own language. Wait, so they actually have their own like alien language? That's absolutely crazy. Multi-dimensional chess. Yeah, they are definitely not playing 2D chess, are they? Did this musician also give an example where the supposed pre-recorded piece was from Wolf Metal? Great question, Wolf. If you're going to claim something confidently. Now, I'd like to just address that quickly for a second. I think these guys, bloody love these guys, right? There is an energy amongst musicians. If you've ever been in a band, I should get a nice picture of both of them up just so we can kind of look at their beautiful faces. There is an energy amongst musicians, right? And you'll know this if you've been in a band, where when there's someone that's really good, a really good guitarist who can play loads of great solos, or a drummer that's absolutely amazing, there's an energy you get from some musicians who kind of want to say things like, yeah, but it's just tricks, or yeah, but they'll get loads of money, or yeah, their dad was rich or something. There's an energy amongst musicians which wants to bring the best ones down. This is something, to be honest with you, that is very normal, I think, in humanity. Like, I think if we see great people in sport, great people in music, if you feel insecure about your own ability, it's quite natural to sometimes try and find something about that person that makes you feel a little bit better about why you're not as good as them. So again, I don't know this musician, what their opinion about them being, being pre-recorded tracks. For me, I think it's probably that kind of insecurity. I think they're a bit insecure about their own musical ability. I categorically can completely tell you that I am nowhere near as good. I'm a drummer, right? I am nowhere as good as Kleck. Nowhere near as good as Kleck. I'm a looper who plays guitar, plays keyboards, and I loop. I'm nowhere near as good a looper as Kun. And you know what? I'm really okay with that. I love watching great loopers, and I love watching great drummers, great guitarists, and I find a lot of joy from it. But there are a lot of people out there who can't really do that and find that difficult. Would be smart to play pre-recorded loops versus freshly played loops. Yeah, it would be smart. Yeah, it would be helpful. User UE4 says do an equipment identification segment. Yeah, good. I'm not really a techie equipment person. Like earlier, I told you there was a pedal they used to get this kind of like sound. The more I think about it, the more I think I'm wrong. Yeah, it would be great to have a closer look at the pedal board. There are pictures out there. Okay, Guvant BS. Nothing new here. Australian band TISM were doing this 40 years ago. Similar music, always appearing in masks, only doing interviews via fax. Great live, weird stage shows. You are 40 years too late. Wow, yeah, no. I mean, so again, a lot of people, I said earlier in the chat, in my kind of segment, a lot of people commenting that lots of folk music has very strange time signatures, so kind of it's, you know, not all that weird. Okay. Yeah, no, Wolf Metal says if you watch any KEXP live performances, you'll find kudos to the audio team in the comments. The mixes are just god tier. Completely agree. Yeah, so Jeremiah Burris says maybe the door buzzer motorcycle horn in Matazyklek is pre-recorded. That might be the kind of that feedback sound I was talking about. And Ilabel says, I like the way Kleck's covered kit sounds. It's very there, no resonant whatsoever. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do quickly is just, there's a few other points I wanted to make that came out of my comments. Let's just do this quickly now. So, one of the things I said in my video earlier was, I said it isn't just, so yeah, I was talking about the microtonal guitar. And again, like I said earlier in this sort of chat bit, I'm not like the best about microtonal stuff. I don't really like notice or hear it that much, so I kind of called out the guitar as being microtonal, but actually, to be really super clear, and a number of commenters told me this, the bass is also microtonal. So again, just what microtonal means, it means the notes between the notes. So on a piano keyboard, there are 12 semitones, but notes can be in between the semitones. They're just frequencies, and there's a frequency for each of them, and the frequency goes up as you go higher up the keyboard. So we've set a kind of distance between the two frequencies to mean that's a semitone. If you have a slightly smaller distance, it's a microtone. If you bend a guitar string, you can hit notes like microtones, but obviously on a normal guitar, on a normal piano, a normal bass, you just have semitones. I don't really understand why you'd want a microtonal bass, because it's really hard to hear notes on a bass. Right, like notes are quite hard to hear. You feel them, but like I don't understand it. But again, I'm not a microtonal player. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think I missed their. Michael Greenwood says he missed. They played a gig near Leeds, where I'm in the UK as well, and there were some UK dates which I definitely missed, which is really frustrating. Okay, let's go to the next point that was raised in my chat. Okay, right, can you tell me how to say the word Angine de Poitrine? So I said that at the opening of my video, and I had a few people coming on to say, well, actually one person said I said it right, and one person kind of phonetically wrote it out. And I wonder, I think I'm pronouncing that how like you would in France. Is the Quebec French kind of a different like pronunciation? So if any of you knows how I'm saying it right or wrong, let me know in the chat, because yeah. Yeah, so that's definitely one of the comments I got, so I have no idea how to say it. Also, interestingly, their names are Kun and Kleck, and I've been saying that all stream, so please let me know if I got them wrong. Yeah, cool. Jeremiah Buzz has come in with some points on the microtonal bass. The ascending bass in Sarniers is microtonal, interesting. Microtonal bass from user UE4, microtonal bass to match the microtonal guitar, plus the bass tone has some rasp treble to it. Yeah, I mean, if you can hear it, kudos, man. I can't. Poitrine. Okay, thank you, Steve Gilbert. Angine de Poitrine. Poitrine, is that better? Yeah. Angine de Poitrine. I know it means angina, doesn't it? Chest angina, but yeah. Okay, user UE4 said Angine de Poitrine, meant to rhyme like that. Angine de Poitrine. Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. If you can get a ticket to any of their shows, consider yourself lucky. Yeah. That's interesting. Ellen Loves You tells us that the theme from Jaws in the bass strings is microtonal. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Angine de Poitrine. Roll the R. Okay. Angine de Poitrine. Angine de Poitrine. Angine de Poitrine. Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay, this is not for anyone. Okay, right. The other thing I said in my or not poir. Okay, I'm going to leave the pronunciation. Okay, so I said in the video. So I was doing some research. I always research my videos. I read loads of kind of articles and things, and I found one that said that they chose their costumes because they wanted the costumes to blend into the background so you focus on the music. I read that somewhere, I popped that in my video, and I had a number of people saying that is bull, that is not what they did. And the actual story, as per my comments, was that they wanted to do a second gig a week after they'd done a gig, and the manager would say, you can't come back, you've done a gig, you need to have a certain amount of time between gigs. So they just put some mad costumes on and turned up and they played the gig. So that is a comment on that. And what about those crazy costumes anyway? Oh, thanks Fog Patrol. The way I say it is pretty good. They will definitely be adding dates in the UK. So yeah, definitely. Let's go. UK Unite. If we're there, let's go and see them. Oh, that's interesting. Google Translate has a play feature. I will try that. Thank you for all your help on this. Shows are selling out in less than 5 minutes. If you go on the Angine de Poitrine kind of like subreddit, that's the main topic of conversation. Okay, exciting news that was someone on my comments said the second album is coming out on the 3rd of April, which is like in 8 days or something. So that's absolutely super exciting. So definitely I'm going to be listening to that. I kind of don't know, like, I don't know about you. I feel like the music, part of what I kind of have become obsessed with is that video, that KEXP video, and watching them. I'll be really interested to see what it's like just listening. And a few people on my comments actually said if you just don't look and listen, it's a different experience. So yeah, I'm quite interested to see what that sounds like. Okay, what's next? Oh yeah, this is quite an interesting comment. I had a few people say this. The guitarist is absolutely mad. He's playing with bare feet, right? He has got bare feet on there. And like there's a few bits, obviously he stomps on the pedals, and a number of comments of people saying, how much must that hurt? That's absolutely mad, isn't it? If you're sort of stomping on pedals and stuff. So yeah, that must be crazy. But there's one bit where I think with his big toe and his second toe, he's like turning a knob on a pedal with his toes. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen that bit? Absolutely mad. So yeah, I have no idea how you do that. Whenever I used to play guitar in gigs, I used to wear trainers, and I wanted to have a bit of weight behind them so that when I did stomp on my pedal, I knew when it was coming, and I felt there was a kind of, you know, a bit of strength in that. So yeah, it looks incredible. He's probably been playing barefoot for a long time, and it doesn't seem to hold him back at all. Okay, so Ilabel says Vol 2 will have a lot of the tracks they did on KEXP. That'll be really interesting. And Ilabel says, I really hope they maintain their secret identities. Actually, that is a really interesting point. A number of people on the various comments have started to sort of like say who the band is, what their old band was, you know, and sort of like use their names and things. And I guess it's a difficult one, isn't it? Do they really want to keep their identity secret, or is it just that this is their kind of, this is their vibe and their vision? So yeah, I don't know them. They may well be really secretive, quiet people who don't want to be known, or they may not mind. So I think in today's world, it must be almost impossible to keep yourself secret. Everyone comes from somewhere, and no one gets to whatever it is, 10 million views on a YouTube video without people knowing who they are. So yeah, it's almost impossible to keep that. Yeah, this Boss Lego pedal, this is the Boss who said that, user UE4. So this is the Boss loop station. So this is the kind of baby version of what Kun uses. He's got an RC 600, this is an RC1. So what you can basically take from that is that
this pedal is 600 times less good than the pedal that kind of Kun uses. I use looping, and actually I use Ableton Live, and it is my favourite looping thing. Do I have any other questions? I think that might be it, actually. Yeah, that's it. It's all the questions. So all the comments that I wanted to bring up. Let's just finish a few final comments here. I just want to say a massive thank you to coming on. We've got 200 people on the stream. I've really, really enjoyed it. And it's been really, really fun to kind of meet you all. I've got a new video coming out about Jacob Collier and his audience choir. So if you're interested in understanding the kind of music theory and kind of skills and stuff, and music history as well behind Jacob Collier, come and check that out. It's going out on Saturday. And I've just really enjoyed my deep dives, learning about Angine de Poitrine. Really, really loved all of your comments. And yeah, just really, really appreciate you being here with me on this stream. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play a little bit of the end of the song together, so we can just roll that out, and then we'll stop the stream. Where are we? Let's go from here. And I will see you all on another video. I'll probably see you on a chat next time Angine de Poitrine are doing something cool on YouTube. Thanks so much for being here, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Come watch some of our other videos. There you go. If you're interested in live looping, my channel is the place to come and hang out. If you're interested in understanding more about music, that's what I'm here for. Come get involved, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.